Imagine doing the school run in this. You'd never be late. You know, unless you got arrested for speeding, in which case, yeah, you might end up being quite late. Love it or hate it, the Porsche Macan has been an undeniable success. It's now Porsche's most popular car. It's also a brilliant fusion of practicality and performance, if you like that kind of thing. But as good as it might be, the Macan as we know it is on its way out. It's changing. The next generation of Macan will be completely electric. To some people, that makes perfect sense. If ever there was a good candidate for electrification, it's the Macan. Of course, there will be people who find that news completely awful. If that annoys you, don't worry. Porsche might be saying goodbye to the Macan's petrol motors, but before it does that, it's planning one hell of a sending off party. This is the Porsche Macan Turbo, and the name should be a little bit of a clue as to what this car's all about. If it's not, I'll give you a hint. Basically, it's all about power, performance, and making the bottom half of your face do this. Oh yeah. Every time. This is Porsche's smallest car, but it uses a big, scary engine. Well, I say big, it's actually a smaller engine than you got in the previous Macan Turbo. That used a 3.6 litre six-cylinder engine, but now you get a 2.9 litre bi-turbo engine. But don't let that fool you, because even in those big cars, this engine was pretty damn powerful. So in the Macan Turbo, it just takes off like a rocket ship. Power is 440 metric horsepower, or about 435 bhp in old money, and that's about 10% more than you got in the old car. So 0 to 60 takes 4.3 seconds with the optional Sport Chrono Pack, and if you got your big boy pants on and find a long enough, straight enough, legal enough road, it'll do 170 miles an hour damn near, which is actually quite silly for a crossover. Crossovers aren't supposed to feel this quick, and yet here I am in essentially a family car that genuinely feels quicker than most sports cars. It's astonishing. Imagine doing the school run in this. You'd never be late. You know, unless you got arrested for speeding, in which case, yeah, you might end up being quite late. What a machine. In terms of practicality, well, definitely worth talking about. Most of you probably want to know exactly how much stuff you can carry while you're doing 170 miles an hour. And the truth is, quite a decent amount. Before I open the boot though, check out this opening mechanism. The button is located here underneath the wiper. Very, very clever. Plus it opens electrically, revealing quite a lot of room really. There's bags of space in there for all your shopping, luggage, pushchair, plus you get an electrically operated tow hook. Check this out. Press that button and out she folds. As for practicality in the rear, well, it's not bad actually. This is quite a small car, but I'm 5'11" and I've got decent amounts of leg room, okay headroom. If you're any taller, then you might struggle, but people of 5'11" and less will be perfectly fine in here. The seats don't move forward or backward and they don't recline, unfortunately, and you have quite an upright seating position. In terms of space back here, well, you got enough room for 2 passengers. I wouldn't want to squeeze a third in between those 2. Plus you got heating controls, heated seats, and a couple of USB-C ports. Yeah, not bad. Up front, it's the same as it's always been. Typical Porsche, with an upright dashboard, loads of buttons, perfect if you hate touchscreens, plus a touchscreen, you can't escape them completely, and materials you'd expect from a premium brand. Practicality is as you'd expect too. 2 cup holders, decent door bins, wireless charging, excellent seats and good ergonomics. You get some smart tech too, a decent sat-nav, excellent Burmester stereo system, and if you got the money for more options, Porsche will sell them to you, although the 68 grand base price starts ramping up quickly. Choose your options wisely. So it's practical and it's got loads of kit. So the question we should ask now is, what's the Macan Turbo actually like to drive? Well, we already know it's flipping fast, so let's get into some of the finer details. The first thing you notice when you drive this car is how direct the steering is. Even the most minute of inputs causes quite big reactions. It's a very sporty steering setup. It can end up feeling a little bit too direct, a bit too fidgety. If you're on a motorway, for example, and you're not expecting to do any corners, the slightest of inputs can cause the car to maybe move a little bit offline, maybe a little bit more than I would like. However, it's really well set up for direct, aggressive cornering. In terms of driving feedback, well, Porsche are the masters of electric power steering systems. This car offers so much feedback in the bend. You know exactly how much grip you've got, and it helps you feel really connected to the driving experience. The gearbox is interesting. They've gone for a dual clutch PDK system, which obviously means they're trying to prioritize performance, and it gives the car two distinct personalities depending on what mode you're in. If you're in normal mode, what tends to happen is the car will shift up as quickly as possible to get to 7th gear as early as it possibly can in order to promote fuel economy. In sport mode, it's a different story altogether. It will hang on to gears for as long as possible. It's almost like it's trying to anticipate that your next move might be to overtake, or perhaps having a road open up in front of you, or coming out of a bend as I am now, and just letting it rip. You do, of course, also get the option to change gear with the paddles on the steering wheel. These feel great, they're metallic, they have a nice action. Not quite as good as the ones you get on an Alfa Romeo Stelvio, but decent. And you can change gear with the shifter located on the center console. We should talk about brakes. Porsche love to talk about the brakes in this car, and they're worth talking about. The system they use in this car is PSCB. They love an acronym, don't they? Porsche Surface Coated Brakes. In other words, the brake discs are coated in tungsten carbide, which sounds amazing, doesn't it? I mean, who doesn't want their brakes to be coated in tungsten carbide? Essentially, what that means is it's a special coating applied to the brake discs, which give the pads a little bit more friction, something to grab onto, which apparently makes the brakes feel that little bit more responsive. In practice, the entire braking system in this car is absolutely first rate. You get phenomenal stopping power, it's easy to modulate the pedal, and it gives you great confidence, which is essential when you've got a car as quick and as powerful as this. It's a brilliant piece of kit, the Macan. I'm not the world's biggest fan of compact crossovers, but driving this does at least give me hope that these cars can be fun, at least some of the time. This is a fantastic example of taking a car that might not be the most sexy, might not be the most appealing on paper, and turning it into a proper driver's car, one that you can really enjoy and exploit. So that, of course, begs the question, with the Macan moving away from this pretty phenomenal petrol setup to one based on electrification, will future cars be anywhere near as much fun to drive as the current crop? Only Porsche know the answer. Only they can prove whether future electric Macans will ever be as much fun to drive as this Macan Turbo in its current state. I think out of all cars, it's probably the perfect candidate for electrification. Let's face it, the electric version is going to be fast. Probably even faster than this. And if Porsche has proven anything with the Taycan, it's that they can make electric cars handle phenomenally well. So I expect future generations of the Macan to probably be just as much fun as this, if not more fun. Porsches are changing. The world is changing. Let's hope all these changes are for the better. Let me know what you think of the new Macan Turbo in the comments below, whether you think electric power is a smart move, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back soon for more reviews.